when it's almost time to go home, it's like you're stepping back into another life. Like, I genuinely feel living away from home, I have lived about 10 different lives. And I think the hardest life to step back into is your one from home, because it's just full of so many memories. So it's like that weird feeling of falling back into your old life and getting used to that again, but knowing that you have to leave again. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. So I wanted to talk to you guys today. I wanted to have a little sit down chat with you guys, and I just really hope that this video finds the right people, and this video can be something that people can relate to and are feeling potentially the same way. So hopefully YouTube does its thing and this video can go out to the right people. But this video is more for the people that are living abroad or they're living away from home. I guess it doesn't even have to be abroad, like it could be in a different city. But yeah, this video speaks to the people that have moved away from home, or maybe had something significant happen in their life that really changed the direction of their life, and for the people that just feel like they've lived about 10 different lifetimes in one lifetime. But basically, the thing that got me thinking about this and wanting to talk to you guys about this is I am going back home soon. So as I'm sure all of you that are watching my videos regularly will know, is I am living in Australia. I am not Australian, I am English, and I have lived in Australia for almost 7 years now. I have been home twice. In the last almost 7 years, I have only been home twice. I think a big reason for that really was COVID, because obviously for a good like 2 years or whatever it was, I couldn't travel anyway. But also just like the cost of the travel to get home and taking time off work, and just how far it is. It's not something that most of us will do all the time anyway. But I am going back home very soon, just for like just over a month, to see everyone and all of that kind of stuff. And whenever I start thinking about booking my flights to go home, planning the trip, or whenever it gets sooner to my flight, I start feeling really, I guess I want to use the words like nervous, but I think really the feeling is like overwhelmed. And I have felt this the last 2 times I went home as well. Now, a big factor of this is, and I'm sure you guys can relate, is usually when you are going home, it's for an event. So quite often it'll be for like a wedding or something like that. And the last time I went home, it was for my sister's wedding. And when I went home the last time, I hadn't seen everyone in around 4 years. So I remember just feeling so weird that I was finally gonna see everyone. Like, it was a strange feeling. Like, it felt like I was just never gonna see anyone again. I can't explain it, but I think you guys that are living away from home or have lived away from home, you will know this feeling when it gets to a point where it's been so long that you haven't actually seen your friends and family in person, and you've just been like FaceTiming and texting. It begins to feel like that's just how the communication with your friends and family is always going to be from now on. It's a weird feeling to explain, but I remember chatting to my sister about it, and I was like, it feels so weird that I'm actually going to see you in person soon. Like, it feels like this is just our relationship now on FaceTime. But I was going home for her wedding. I hadn't seen everyone in 4 years, and I just remember feeling, and that there'd been actually a really bad accident happen in the family with her now husband, so my brother-in-law, which caused a lot of emotions as well, and there was just a lot. So I remember feeling so overwhelmed going home, and I remember my dad picked me up from the airport, and I just, like, as soon as we saw each other, we just like burst into tears. Like, it's such an overwhelming feeling, and like I was planning her hen do, and I was like really wanting it to be perfect for her, and I was doing a speech at her wedding, and there was just a lot, seeing family and friends for the first time in years, and you never know how it's going to go. So I think that was a big factor as to why I was feeling nervous, because I was going home for that and I just wanted everything to go right. I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. And the first time I went back home was for my mum's wedding. So again, it was a similar feeling, just wanting everything to go right. And me and my sister had to walk down the aisle, and I don't know why, we were just really nervous for that. So I think a lot of the reason I start feeling a bit overwhelmed is because usually it is for an event, which I don't know about you guys, for some reason I get nervous for weddings anyway. And yeah, so there's that. But the thing I mainly wanted to talk about in this video is kind of like the feelings we go through living away from home. And I think a lot of the time we do bury these feelings and kind of act like they're not there, because a lot of us living abroad, including myself, absolutely love it, and we know deep down we made the right decision and we are very happy with our decision, and there was reasons for why we chose to move away. But we cannot deny that every so often you get that awful feeling of like guilt, almost, being away from your friends and family and not being able to just call down the road to see them. Before I go ahead, I do want to make it very clear that I am so excited to go home, like genuinely so excited. Whenever I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually going home. Because like I said just earlier on, it's like it gets to that point when you've been living away from home for so long that it just feels like you're never going back home again. And again, I think a lot of that is just being able to book the time off work and get the money together, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I am so excited, and we are so fortunate that we literally can just jump on a flight and go back home, and it's pretty much as easy as that. Yes, there's people that do get like travel anxiety, like being in the airport and on the plane and stuff, but we can just jump on a plane, be back at home, and we're very fortunate for that. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm being ungrateful or not excited, because that is definitely not the case. I am so excited, and I'm sure you'll see lots of videos of when I am back at home and lots of pictures on my social media, because I get to meet my little niece and nephew, and they are both 1 now, so I need to see them ASAP. So yeah, super excited. But like this video is about, there is some just weird feelings around going home. Do you know when sometimes you can't even think of the right words? It's just, you just get a weird feeling. And for me, what it really feels like is, it's like having 2 different lives. And it's like you have this new life abroad, which you have created for yourself. You usually, unless you've come with like a partner or something, a lot of us come out here solo, and it's literally, you have created this life for yourself. You have built the friendships you now have. You have found that apartment you're now living in, found that job, worked so hard to apply for numerous jobs and work so hard preparing for an interview to get the job and all of this kind of stuff. A lot of us happen to do our farm work. Like a lot of us who live abroad, I mean, that I'm talking about living in Australia, but of course, you know, I'm not sure what you need to do to be able to live in other countries, but in Australia we had to do our farm work to be able to stay a 2nd and 3rd year. I know for the UK now you just get 3 years straight up, but when I came out here I did have to do my 2nd and 3rd year farm work. So basically, yeah, like we have built this new life for ourselves that I feel like a lot of us feel so proud to have built, and a lot of us made the decision that we want to continue that and build a life out in the new country or the new city we're living in. But then you also have this old life, which is like the life you were kind of born into, and it's where you have all of your childhood memories, you have your family, your friends that you've known since you were so small, you've grown up with, they know so much about you and so much about the things you have been through. But it's like a really bittersweet feeling, because it's like a lot of us just move because we want to like travel, but there's also a lot of us that usually there is an underlying reason as to why we leave, and that may be we love our friends and we love our family and the life we were born into, but we wanted more. We maybe didn't quite feel like we belonged there anymore, and we were searching for something else, something more. And we made that decision to take that leap and move abroad, and ended up just falling in love with it and falling in love with building this new life for ourselves, almost feeling a bit like an escape from the old life. And I think at first, like, maybe you don't think about it too much. Like, I remember when I first came out to Australia and I was 22, and I was just like, I fell in love instantly with the country, and I was obsessed like with the life I was living. And I remember thinking, why the hell didn't I do this sooner? It was just, oh my word, like a dream. And I'm not exaggerating, I absolutely loved it. Like, I think as well, like, I just got lucky with the way I kind of fell into things and planned my trip the first few months of being out here. And I just got really lucky with the friends I was staying with at times, because they'd been living in Australia for a long time, so they were showing me all of like these hidden places that only like the locals would know about. And I was exploring all of these really cool beaches, waterfalls, islands, and I was like, this is my dream. And I just fell in love with it instantly, which is why I'm still here. And I think you kind of just feel like you're living this life. This sounds really, I don't even mean any of this in a disrespectful way towards anyone, but if I'm just going to be honest with how I was feeling at the time, I was just thinking, screw you guys back at home. Like, I love you guys, but you are missing out. Like, that kind of feeling. And then I feel like it gets to a point where as you start getting older, you're still loving your new life, but people back at home, they do eventually start to move on with their life. People grow up, they start having babies, they start buying houses, they start getting married, they start getting engaged, whatever it is. And obviously when you live abroad, you can still do all of that. I mean, and again, it depends what country we're talking about here, but Australia, it can take quite a while to kind of find your feet and get the right visa and all of that kind of stuff. So I just feel like your life, building a life when you move to another country, it can take a lot longer than if you're building your life back in your hometown or your home country. And it starts to kind of feel like you're, depending on which way you look at it, sometimes you kind of then start feeling like you were up here living this life and everyone else kind of a bit like stuck at home, not knowing what they want to do. And then suddenly, like, it feels a little bit like you're the one being left behind. Because as I say, things tend to take a lot longer in building a life when you live abroad, because you've got to kind of think about other things as well as the usual life stuff you think about, like creating a family, getting married, all of that kind of stuff. You've also got to think about just bloody getting the right visa so that you can actually like potentially look into having your own place and home to live in the future. There's just a lot more things that you have to like take into account, so it just seems to take longer. And I think but then because we are living away from home, we can kind of like avoid the feelings a little bit. Like, we can pick up the phone, we can have a FaceTime and check in on everything and everyone and, you know, what's new, and be so happy for our friends and family, like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Like, but we can kind of avoid the feeling a little bit because it's just through the screen, you know. And then I think when we then go home, it's like we are facing all of this front on. We are sat there and we're meeting our nieces and nephews. we're looking at our best mate who we remember, who was like this small, and she's now like getting married and has 2 kids. You know, maybe you're at home and there's people that are no longer there anymore, or you're looking at people and you're remembering all of these memories you had with them, but suddenly you feel like you don't really know them anymore. And it's like when you then go home, you have to face all of this front on, and you're like, shit. Like, and it just reminds you of how much people say nothing changes at home, which I understand to an extent. But when we're talking about periods of time over the space of 10 years, etc., things are gradually changing. And I think if you don't go home often, when you then do go home, it all hits you face on how much has changed over that time and how much maybe you have really missed out on, and all the things that are happening that you're not there for anymore, but you were once upon a time. And I think sometimes then it brings up that kind of feeling of guilt, that you haven't been there for that, because as I said, when you're living away and you're still connecting through FaceTime and stuff, you kind of feel like you're there, but you're not. You're it's just not the same thing. Like I said, you can avoid certain types of feelings through the screen, but when you're physically there in front of your friends and family and you're back at home, just this flood of emotion just hits you. And by saying that, it does not have to mean that you do not love your new life and you are happy with the life you have chose. You know, those people that just think everything is black and white. So people think by saying that it means, okay, well, maybe she's not that happy deep down. Like, that's just not reality, and that's not how the world works. You can still love your new life and be so happy with what you've chosen to do, but still have that bittersweet, weird guilt feeling. And yeah, like there's a lot of other things I could go into, because also at the same time you go home and you like, do you know, like when suddenly at first everything's like sunshine and roses, because like you're just so happy to be back and everyone's showing their like best side. And after a little while things start like slipping and you start having little tiffs and arguments, and you're like, okay, this is why I moved away. Get me back to Australia. So obviously there's some stuff like that where you're like, I made the right decision moving away. But I'm just talking about one of the main things that makes me feel overwhelmed about the feeling of going home. And I notice I start to like distance myself a little bit, which is weird, because you'd think that you kind of try to regain connection and friendships the closer it gets to going home. But sometimes I like do the opposite, and it's like this is like home and everyone at home, and I'm like trying to pull away because I'm like, I've got to face that feeling, and it's like sometimes it's easier to just not. I hope you guys get what I'm saying. Again, if you're just like, oh, whatever, then this isn't the right video for you, but this is for the ones that do understand what I'm talking about, and I hope it can help. But yeah, I just more wanted to talk about that overwhelming feeling you get when it's almost time to go home. It's like you're stepping back into another life. Like, I genuinely feel living away from home, I have lived about 10 different lives, and I think the hardest life to step back into is your one from home, because it's just full of so many memories. And yeah, because sometimes something feels so good and it can still feel overwhelming. You can still feel super excited about going to do something but still feel overwhelmed. But yeah, I kind of feel myself pulling away, because it's like people are like asking, when can I see you? What date can we meet? What should we do when you come home? And I sometimes find myself like almost like ignoring the question for a little bit, because I think what a lot of people at home forget is like, we have been living away from home for so long and made this new life and these new friendships, And then we've suddenly got all of our old friends asking this, that, and that. And it's just a lot to step back into. Yes, it's so, so exciting. But with coming home and seeing everyone also comes facing the reality of the things that we have missed and the things we need to now catch up on. And it's like you go back home and you fall back into that old life, but you know you're not staying there. So it's like that weird feeling of falling back into your old life and getting used to that again, but knowing that you have to leave again. And it's just such a bittersweet feeling. But I hope this video can help anyone that's kind of maybe going back home, or you're thinking about going back home, or whatever it is. Maybe you've just got back to your new place from being at home. But I hope you guys can relate to that feeling, and I just wanted an honest raw chat with you guys. Trust me, I am so excited to go home, and you will see lots of me loving life back at home. I am so excited to be back, like in the countryside and exploring again, and with my nieces and nephews and my family and friends. But I hope this video can help you guys, and I hope it finds the right people. And I love you all lots if you've got this far. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.